You're listening to the Super League Pod. It's Series 4 of your favourite Rugby League podcast. And as always, we're back with our feedback and shout-outs, news from around the world of Rugby League, reviews and previews of all the Super League action. So strap yourselves in, kids, because the season starts here. Feel like that was a calm enough introduction to the show. Mark, how are you?
Felt booming to me.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So welcome along everyone to the Super League Pod. As always, I'm Tom and I'm joined by Mark, the Wigan fan, in the podcast studios. Most of you will be familiar to us, but I feel like it's important that for people that might be coming new to the podcast that we at least introduce ourselves.
I hope there are new people getting on board as well as the old faithful returning.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've had a couple of weeks off since our big season preview show, so this is kind of back into the season proper for us now. This is like our first hit out of the new season, isn't it? Yeah,
sort of. I mean, a slow build with just the championship games to cover.
Yep.
But we'll get to that. And
I said before we started recording that this might be a quick show, but I'm hesitant to say that ever now because we predict this so many times.
Doesn't happen, does it?
And it just doesn't work out that way.
I might fall asleep by the end of the show though. I'm feeling out of whack after being up late watching the Super Bowl, even though I had a sleep in this morning. I don't know, I just feel out of whack and I'm annoyed because I forgot to order Salford Wigan tickets, so now I'm just totally out of whack.
The whole day. I can see it in your eyes. You're earnestly looking at me like it's just not been a good day for you, has it, Mark?
No. So let's
try and cheer you.
How are you?
I'm very well.
You were ill last time.
I was absolutely hanging in. It only got worse for about 3 days after we recorded the season preview, and I've listened back to the preview show. And it's obvious that I've got the sniffles a little bit, but I don't think...
We edited out the worst of it.
It was very obvious quite how bad it was. There was some good editing going on there, but we took a lot of breaks for me to kind of get myself together and blow my nose and stuff. But for like the 3 days after that at work, I was just a mess, really. But I'm on the more than on the road to recovery now. I am recovered. But I feel like I've developed a bit of a dependency on Sudafed. Not in like a Breaking Bad kind of way, but because it opens your nasal passages up, I feel like now that because I used it for so long to allow myself to breathe, now that I'm better and I've stopped using it, my nose feels really like bunged up and there's nothing going on. I'm not ill, but it's like bunged. So now I'm using Sudafed just to kind of keep on an even keel in a respiratory fashion, which we've got some doctors that listen. They might tell me that it's okay and everything's fine. They might say, just stop using Sudafed recreationally, Tom.
I
don't get a kick out of it. I'm not like addicted. I can give up any time I want.
Should be used in moderation and when they're most purposeful, rather than just as a habitual thing. I would suggest.
I do feel like now I'm getting nothing from it, and it's just to kind of keep myself on an even keel, which isn't a good sign, is it? With any kind of.
Why don't you just get the Robbie Fowler nasal strips out and open your that way?
There was a time in life where I used to have to wear those, but it doesn't matter so much if I snore at the moment, so I don't need to wear them. And apart from that, it's been I booked a holiday for me and Erin. That's partly why I've got you doing the passport thing.
Oh right, where are you going?
We're going to Euro Disney at the end of April.
Wow.
But I've been cutting and scheduled it in such a fashion that I'll be able to record Super League Pod on the Monday and then fly on the Tuesday morning, and we're back in time for the next episode.
Well, I need to speak to you about a couple of weeks.
Booked it in.
I need to speak to you about a couple of weeks' time, actually, on the Civil Evade.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I'm off to Belfast for a weekend.
Wow.
But I'll be back in time to do the show.
Okay.
But literally just back in time to do the show, so there's going to be a reliance on you for rundown input.
I'm proud to take that responsibility on and take it seriously, man.
So we'll cover that off in a couple of weeks' time.
Absolutely. Well, shall we talk about some exciting bits and pieces of news to do with the Super League Pod?
Yeah, the announcement you made a couple of weeks ago we'll start with. I suppose that's the most interesting and intriguing thing.
Well, we're really proud. We, over the last few seasons, have had pet amateur sides, but this year we've taken it to a slightly higher level, and we're really proud to be partnering with the Teignbridge Trojans for the next 2 seasons. We've signed up, we've paid our money. They've done something quite unique to raise money for the club and for sponsorship, which is that they've searched out for multiple smaller donations of sponsorship, and then they're holding a raffle to, first of all, see who'll be the main kit sponsor, and then also to see who will be the 10 or so people that feature on their training wear. So we may end up with Super League Pod as the main sponsor of this rugby team, or we may end up on the training gear, and we'll keep you informed about that. But I think it's a nice thing to be able to do differently for the show, to be able to not just adopt an amateur side, and they really are very, very new and a very amateur, not an amateur setup, but they are very new in terms of grassroots rugby league, and I'll go on to tell you a bit more about them in a moment. But I just think it's dead exciting to be able to support a team in that fashion, and kind of hopefully we can point some of our listeners towards
and give a little back to the people who run the club, who've always been supporters of ours
precisely
since we started.
Absolutely. Well, it's a club that's been founded by one Barry Whittle, who is the son of Malcolm Whittle, who Malcolm, very early days in the show, and he does occasionally still get in touch, but in the very early, his first series of Super League Pod, Malcolm was very heavily involved in getting back and forth with us and keeping us up to date on how things were going with the Devon Sharks. Well, his son Barry has been involved with the Devon Sharks from right back in 2006, when it was their first season in the South West League, and he's basically done every job that you can do at a club within the Devon Sharks. He took some time away from the club after the 2015 season, just because personal and professional issues meant that he needed to, but found that he was missing the sport so much that it wasn't long before he was back in there, involved in South West Rugby League and forming his own team from scratch, forming a committee and starting to recruit players for the Teignbridge Trojans. They're going to have a truncated season this year because, as he puts it, the Sharks have got ideas above their station.
I wouldn't say
illusions of grandeur.
I wouldn't say.
Well, as he puts it, I've got the email. He's joking, I'm sure. Well, because they're going to be playing. They're looking to play in Wales, aren't they? So they've got.
Well, what's happened in the Southwest since last time we covered it in detail in 2014 in our first season was a couple of teams have slipped out. Of things after not being able to consistently put together teams, particularly last year. So they lost teams. The Devon Sharks are an ambitious team, so they had some new impetus and input behind them, didn't they, early last year, at the start of their 10th year. And that's led to ambitions to have a more regular, more competitive schedule for themselves, which has seen them look to play against teams in Wales and the sort of more northern area of the southwest, if you will. But which obviously has left the other couple of clubs that were remaining down there in the southwest kind of without a league. But the Teignbridge Trojans are a team that can step in and support along the way. So what was Barry saying about how the season's going to go this year?
Well, there's going to be 3 teams competing over in a slightly different format, really. The Cornish Rebels and the Exeter Centurions have agreed to carry on with some tweaks. So on the first weekend of every month, they're going to be holding a nines tournament to raise awareness for the sport down in the southwest, and they're going to be timing those around things, some of the big events that happen down there, like Glastonbury and what have you. And they also have the other 2 weekends, they're going to have full-blown friendlies, which as a league they've been invited to go and join in with teams like at the South Wales Ironman as well. So they're bringing, it's really grassroots in terms of they're bringing rugby league to the fore in an area where it's not particularly a strong sport, and they're really trying to grow something within Devon and Cornwall. So we're really at the very base of the grassroots this season, and Barry's going to keep us informed of how things are going with the club, and obviously we'll keep you updated in the way that we did with Aaron Smith and his boys down in Brentwood, thank you, with the Eels last season as well. So Super League Pod, we can not just say that they're our pet amateur team, but we're very, very proud to be partnering with the Teignbridge Trojans. If you want to give them a follow on Twitter, they are at Newton Abbott RL, and that's how you get hold of them. And then you can
find them on Facebook similarly.
In the same vein, absolutely. So give them a shout out. Let them know that it was Tom and Mark from the Super League Pod that sent you, and we'll keep you updated on how things are going for the Trojans in their inaugural season.
Yeah, brilliant. That's great stuff. Bit more housekeeping then. Shall we roll through the Super Brew League and the Dream Team League that have been set up? So with Super Brew, last count when I checked, there was 44 entrants to the league so far this year. It looks great. They've been in touch with us, Super Brew, to say, do we want to do a bit of a preview for them on the Super League each week? And you know, I was like, it's a hobby for us. We don't really want to do anything extra, but we do a bit.
Money talks, gents. So
we do a bit of a preview every week anyway. So we've sort of said, like, look, we'll send that your way, and you can share that out with other users of your Super League pools on there, and it's a bit of a, you know, helps us both, helps us maybe reach a bit of a new audience or what have you, helps use the strong base we have on Twitter and things like that to help promote the Super Brew competitions.
Precisely.
And their thing, because they do a whole range of prediction competitions well outside the rugby league realm for any sport that you're sort of interested in, as the members of our pool all already know. So yeah, get on board if you've not done already. It's Super Brew, and then search for Super League Pod, superbrew.com, and then search for Super League Pod, or check out our Facebook and Twitter feeds, or send us a message and we'll give you the details of how to get involved there with that, and hopefully look forward to doing a bit more with the Super Brew guys as the year goes on.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for partnerships with the Super League Pod. The other thing that we're going to be doing again this year is our dream team, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, definitely. I was... We've set that up, so the league pin is 273 and the password for that is SLP space 123. I don't know how I ended up putting a space in it, but it is. So it's on sldreamteam.co.uk. It's the main one there. There's 60 teams in the league at the last count that I did, which is great. I've got 2 in there.
I also have 2 in there as well.
Mine are boringly named because I couldn't be bothered thinking of anything up. I set it up when I was editing the last show, so right. I was pretty exhausted when it was all going through at about 1 o'clock on the Monday.
Well, I had a quick look through this afternoon at work as well, just to look for some funny names, and there's some cool names in there, but points aren't awarded for funny names, Mark. It's more about the teams and the scores. But we've both entered 2 teams this year. One of mine is a ridiculous team, and the other one is my serious team. So we're going to go through quickly the players that we've selected for each of our dream teams now. We'll start with myself, since you're having a sip of water. The Tubes Fairies is my, my clever little name for my main team.
If he ever bothers to get a work permit.
He's here on holiday. He's just
observing.
He's just here. It's just coincidence. He's here on holiday. So my front row, I've gone for Liam Watts, Craig Hubie, and the young Leeds hooker Parcell from the Manly Sea Eagles. A second row of Bateman and Jack Hughes, with Gaz Hock locking the scrum. Martin Rigid and Luke Gale in the halves. On the wings, Don Manfredi and Ryan Hall. Jake Webster and Junior Sout in the centres, and the English Billy Slater, Greg Eden at fullback. What about yourself?
Well, I've got my 2 teams are both sort of serious. Well, I'll see after about 2 months who's
which
doing
one you do. Which one you get?
About that one.
I'm sure that's within the spirit of the competition, but all right.
So for the first team, I've got Hanbury at fullback, Briscoe and McGilvery on my wings, then Minikin and Inu in my centres, Ridyard and Gidley in my halves. My pack is Lynch, Roby and Ikehifo, then Liam Farrell, Mark Minicello and Gareth Hock to round things off, and then a bunch of kids on the bench for the cheap ones. And then my second team, there's probably some crossover if I remember right, but Jamie Shaw is my fullback. My wingers are Ryan Hall and Justin Carney. Then Mark Percival and Anthony Gelling are my centres. In the halves I've got Ridyard again, but Luke Walsh partners him. In the front row I've got Junior Moores, who's on there as a prop, David Fafita and Darryl Clark, and then Bateman, Patterson and Sean O'Loughlin make up my back row.
There you go. Well, my second not so serious team is the Lee Gaskell Comedy Turnstile, and there's a theme in all the players bar one who's in there for sentimental reasons, and I'll see if you can pick it up. Front row of Andy Lynch, Adam O'Brien and Paul Clough. Second row is Brett Ferris and John Bateman, with Larn Patrick locking the scrum. Curtis Norton at fullback, James Clare and Jody Broughton on the wings, Chris Wellham and Joe Rundle in the centres, and Lee Gaskell and Luke Gale in the halves.
Well, it's seemingly, other than Larn Patrick, a Bradford Old Boys team.
Well, no, Larn Patrick was with us as a kid.
Oh, was he?
He was, yeah. So it's actually Jody Broughton who's my sentimental inclusion.
There you go.
The fastest quantity surveyor in the West. He gets in. So yeah, and I've even managed to segue to shoe on a few ex-Bulls in on the bench. I've got Joe Philbin and Matty Blythe on my bench as well.
Did you see Joe Philbin's brother playing in the Challenge Cup game on the BBC Red Button stream?
No, I didn't.
The Miners against St Pat?
No, I didn't get to see it. I've had Erin for the last couple of weekends, so I didn't get a chance to sit down and watch it. But I would have loved to have watched
It was a big lad.
I can imagine.
Big lad.
Yeah.
Made his brother look small.
Really?
I'd say.
Blood and sand.